What is going on here? What's up everybody, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about how engineering and product decisions are made at tech companies. Now, if you're a software engineer watching this video, let me guess. At one point or another in your career, whether when you were an intern or a normal software engineer, you have felt the frustration of feeling like all of the engineering decisions made on your team or at your company were poor. And you've probably blamed product managers on this. You felt like the people behind product management are dumb or don't know what they're doing. They're causing all these bad decisions. You're not really sure why these decisions are happening, but you know that you're frustrated. You felt that way. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. Now, if you're a product manager watching this video, let me guess. At one point or another in your career, you've had the engineers on your team or at your company who felt just as I described a few seconds ago. Maybe you had a call from an engineering manager telling you, listen, the engineers aren't happy. They feel like engineering decisions aren't being made the way they should be. They're kind of blaming you. I bet that you felt that. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. So the question now becomes, why does it seem like it is a tragic commonality that engineering decisions and product decisions seem to kind of clash at tech companies, big or small, though usually, especially at the big companies? Why is this the case? And of course, this is what we're going to try to answer in this video, but in order to understand that, we have to understand how tech companies actually operate. What are the various kinds of decisions that tech companies really make? Because it's not just engineering and product. And here, I've identified three main primary types of decisions that tech companies make. Business decisions, product decisions, and number three, decisions about the type of free food that's going to be served the next day. Just kidding. Of course, number three is engineering decisions. So business, product, engineering. Now, of course, we could be more granular and say that there are also marketing decisions and hiring decisions, decisions about the type of free food that's going to be served the next day. These are all actually valid, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on business, product, and engineering because these are really the most intertwined ones. And so to understand these decisions and how they get made, we have to take a step back, another step back, and understand what goals do they support, right? Business goals, product goals, engineering goals. So what are business goals at a tech company? Well, assuming we're talking about a for-profit business, I'm going to assume that right now, there are really just two business goals, very simple. Number one, make money. And this is something that some people don't really like, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, a business needs to make money. Without money, the business cannot fund its operations. It cannot pay the people who are making the business. So a business needs to make money. And the second thing is a business needs to grow, right? And that means make more money, get more customers, make more sales. A business needs to grow to thrive. Those are the business goals. Now, product goals, also very simple. First and foremost, you want to create the best damn product out there. That means having the best features, having the best user experience, having the features that customers want the most, catering to your customers, listening to your customers. Those are the product goals. And then finally, you've got engineering. And engineering goals, very simple as well. You can really summarize the primary goal of engineering at a tech company as wanting to avoid having to work in a legacy Java code base. Just kidding. Wanting to avoid having to work in a legacy PHP code base. Just kidding again. Not really, but no, really, seriously. The main goal of engineering at a tech company is to basically write clean, maintainable, scalable, bug-free software, idiomatic code, working with, pleasurable, or pleasurable is not really the right word, but let's just go with it, pleasurable technologies. Okay, that really sounds like weird, but like top of the line tech, the best tech stack. That is the goal of engineering at a tech company. And as you might imagine, the various types of decisions, business decisions, product decisions, engineering decisions, they are going to be made in an effort to achieve these three goals: engineering goals, product goals, business goals. Now, in an ideal world, achieving all three of these goals benefits the other departments. In other words, all three of these goals kind of behave in harmony, especially if you start from the engineering and work your way up. If you achieve the engineering goal of having a maintainable, scalable, bug-free piece of software, then naturally that's going to mean that your products are going to be bug-free, which is obviously better. You're going to be able to add features more quickly because the software will be scalable. You'll be able to cater to a greater audience. Your software will be maintainable, so in a couple of years when you have new engineers, you'll be able to ramp them up really quickly and add more features, right? So you're going to have a better product by having those engineering goals met. And if you have a better product, then customers are going to be happy. They're going to want to buy your product more. So naturally, you're going to have more money or more customers, more growth, more money. The business goals are going to be met. So all of these things work in harmony. But, the question is, do we live in an ideal world? And the answer to that is no, we don't live in an ideal world, because if we did, then the year 2020 wouldn't have happened as it has. And the truth is, the year 2020 has happened as it has. So no, we do not live in an ideal world, and what that means is that instead of having these three departments, engineering, product, business, work in harmony and achieve all of their goals together, instead you have a clusterfuck. Okay, not all the time, but sometimes. And that leads to those scenarios that I was describing at the beginning of the video, that frustration where you're like, why are these decisions being made the way they're being made, etc. Now, the really frustrating part is the fact that when you are an engineer or even a product manager at a tech company, especially at the big tech companies, and I felt this when I was at Google and at Facebook, not all the time, but sometimes, when you have this frustration, you do not have visibility into the other departments. As an engineer, you might have some visibility into product, but you have very little visibility, if any, into the business and the people making business decisions. Similarly, the people making business decisions have almost no visibility into the engineers, at least not the actual day-to-day engineering. And so there's this weird, mismatch between people and this frustration that you don't know why certain things are being done the way they are. Now, these days, at my company AlgoExpert, and by the way, if you're preparing for your coding interviews or your systems design interviews, do check out my company AlgoExpert. Go to algoexpert.io and use the promo code CLEM, C-L-E-M, for a discount on the platform. But so at my company AlgoExpert, I have the luxury of having visibility into all of these departments, engineering, product, and business. Because at the end of the day, at AlgoExpert, I and the rest of my team, I am both or all of the engineer and the product manager and the business person, the CEO who makes the business decisions. So when we make decisions at AlgoExpert, we all have the visibility into the engineering, the product, and the business. And what that means is that we understand why sometimes we inevitably have to make poor engineering decisions or even poor product decisions in favor of something else, like a better business decision. And here I'll give you a few examples. Specifically, let's start with product. At AlgoExpert and at most tech companies, there are a lot of clear product improvements that you could make to the product that you're building that are just obvious. Like literally, adding these features would improve the product. For example, at AlgoExpert, we have had customers who have requested that we add support for other languages, like that we add support for PHP maybe, or for Ruby. And objectively, it would be great for AlgoExpert to support more programming languages on the website, on the code execution. Or for our coding workspace, which, by the way, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but our coding workspace is very feature-rich. But we have had some customers ask us to add even more features, like, for instance, key bindings for the Vim mode, that objectively would make the product better. There would be no reason from a product point of view not to add them. But if you look a little bit more closely from the business point of view, you realize that adding these features, which would improve the product and would be good product decisions, would have zero material impact on the business. These are not features that would actually make the business grow in any meaningful way, and if we don't add those features, it wouldn't hurt the business in any meaningful way. And in fact, it actually would potentially hurt the business to add those features because adding these features isn't free. There's an opportunity cost. It takes a lot of time and effort to add these features. And so we would be hurting the business because instead of adding those features, we could add other features that would be good for the business. So you see, this is an example where you might make what seems like a bad product decision to say, no, we're not adding these features because for the business, it's just much better. And for engineering, this is so often the case where you have to make poor engineering decisions like cutting corners or accepting the fact that you have to add tech debt in your code base because you are supporting a product decision. So maybe you're saying, hey, we really need to ship this feature, yesterday. We have to have engineers make poor engineering decisions to support that. Or maybe you're adding a new feature that makes a past engineering decision become poor, or because of that past engineering decision, we are now going to be forced to make poor engineering decisions now. But again, it's because we're supporting the product. And why? Because ultimately, it's a great business decision. And sometimes our decisions have been the other way around, where we've made a fantastic engineering decision, but a pretty bad business decision, at least in the short term, that just something that doesn't benefit the business and takes away time and effort. But the reasoning is because, it sets the groundwork for the engineering to then be able to add more features much quicker and have far fewer bugs. And in turn, in the long run, that will be a great business decision. So what I'm getting at is that at AlgoExpert, we have this luxury of being able to see everything at once. And when we make decisions, we're not making one poor engineering decision, one mediocre product decision, and one great business decision. No, we're making multiple decisions, but when you put them together, when you aggregate them, you are making one singular best decision for the company as a whole, for AlgoExpert, or for Google, for Amazon, for Facebook, etc. So this is how engineering and product decisions are made at tech companies. Of course, do keep in mind that this is my experience and my interpretation of all of this. I do hope that you found this insightful. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button. Do let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do it right now. Do not go anywhere until you've subscribed. If you enjoy short form written content, follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you enjoy pictures, follow me on Instagram, and otherwise I will see you in the next video.